I remember the exact moment I decided to trust my sister Victoria with my life's work. It was 4 years ago, standing in the empty ballroom of Grandview Manor, the 1920s estate I'd spent 3 years renovating into the region's most exclusive event venue. The crystal chandeliers I'd imported from Prague caught the afternoon light, casting rainbow patterns across the restored marble floors. "This is incredible, Julia," Victoria whispered, her voice echoing in the 6,000 square foot space. "I could build something amazing here." At the time, she was struggling to launch her wedding planning business from her cramped apartment, losing clients to established companies with proper venues. I had just finished my certification as an event insurance investigator, a specialized field requiring deep knowledge of liability law, vendor contracts, and venue safety regulations. Most people didn't even know the job existed, but after 15 years investigating insurance fraud in the hospitality industry, I'd seen every scheme imaginable. Victoria spun around in the center of the ballroom, her arms outstretched. "Would you really let me use this place?" "You're my sister," I said simply. "Family helps family." That decision cost me $8,200 every month in comprehensive insurance coverage. Event venues require specialized policies: general liability, liquor liability, property damage, vendor coverage, weather insurance. I'd structured the policies to protect against everything from guest injuries to vendor no-shows, with coverage limits that exceeded most commercial venues. But watching Victoria's face light up made every dollar feel worthwhile. The first wedding she planned at Grandview Manor was magical. I worked alongside her crew, adjusting lighting, coordinating with caterers, ensuring every detail matched her vision. The bride cried when she saw the ceremony set up. White roses cascading down the grand staircase, candles flickering in every window alcove. "You're a natural at this," I told Victoria as we cleaned up past midnight. She hugged me tight. "I couldn't do any of this without you." Over the next 4 years, Victoria's business exploded. Grandview Manor became known as the most sought-after wedding venue in the state. Couples booked 18 months in advance, paying premium prices for the privilege of celebrating in our restored ballroom. Victoria's Instagram account gained 50,000 followers. Wedding magazines featured her work. I staffed every event personally. Set up at 6 a.m., breakdown at 2 a.m., I installed sound systems, arranged furniture, coordinated with vendors, managed emergencies. During one outdoor ceremony, when sudden rain threatened to ruin everything, I spent 30 minutes rigging emergency tenting while Victoria calmed the panicking bride. "You saved the day," the bride's mother told me afterward. "This woman is a miracle worker," she said to Victoria. Victoria accepted the praise without mentioning my role. As her reputation grew, I started noticing small changes. She stopped thanking me for the weekend labor. When vendors complimented the venue, she'd respond with, "I have excellent taste in locations," rather than acknowledging my ownership. During planning meetings with high-end clients, she'd introduce me as my event coordinator instead of her sister. "It's more professional," she explained when I mentioned it. "Clients prefer not knowing about family dynamics." I let it slide. Her business was thriving, which meant my venue was being showcased beautifully. The insurance costs were substantial, but Victoria's events generated excellent promotional value. Professional photographers captured Grandview Manor at its best. Every angle perfect, every detail gleaming. What Victoria didn't know was that my investigative work had evolved. My specialty in event insurance fraud made me highly sought after by major insurance companies. I developed proprietary software for detecting vendor kickback schemes, inflated damage claims, and contract manipulation. My client list included 3 of the largest event insurance providers in the country. During my investigations, I routinely reviewed venue contracts, vendor agreements, and liability documentation. It was second nature to analyze the fine print, spot discrepancies, identify red flags. I'd seen every type of fraud imaginable, from stage accidents to phantom vendor charges. The first red flag appeared 18 months ago during the Henderson wedding. The final bill showed charges for premium vendor services that exceeded our agreed-upon limits. When I asked Victoria about it, she waved dismissively. "Clients change their minds. You have to adapt." But the vendor listed, Prestige Floral Design, wasn't someone we'd worked with before. When I called their number, it went to voicemail for a company that supposedly specialized in luxury event experiences. The address on their invoice led to a UPS store. I started paying closer attention. During the Morrison anniversary party, I noticed Victoria charging the client for venue enhancement fees that supposedly covered special lighting and audio equipment. The equipment was mine, installed permanently at Grandview Manor. She was billing clients $2,000 for using amenities that came with the venue rental. When I questioned her privately, Victoria's response was sharp. "I'm building a premium brand. Clients expect to pay for exclusivity. But you're charging them for things that are already included." "I'm charging them for the experience I create," she said, her voice taking on an edge I'd never heard before. That's what branding means. I began documenting everything: screenshots of contracts, recordings of client conversations, copies of vendor invoices. My investigative training kicked in automatically: preserve evidence, establish timelines, build comprehensive case files. The pattern became clear. Victoria was systematically overcharging clients for services that were either already included in the venue rental or provided by phantom vendors that existed only on paper. She created fake vendor companies: Prestige Floral Design, Elite Audio Solutions, Grandview Catering Specialists, and was billing clients thousands of dollars for services that either cost far less or didn't exist at all. During the Williams wedding, she charged $3,500 for specialty linens from Elite Textile Rentals. The linens came from a standard party supply company and cost $400. I watched her pocket the $3,100 difference. "Victoria," I said afterward, "we need to talk about your vendor billing." "My billing is none of your business," she snapped. "I run the events, you just provide the space." The space I owned. The space I insured for $8,200 monthly. The space where I worked every weekend without compensation. But I said nothing. Instead, I expanded my documentation. I installed discrete security cameras in my office, recording all contract discussions. I saved copies of every vendor invoice, cross-referencing them with actual services provided. I tracked client payments, matching them against legitimate expenses. The most damaging evidence came from her computer. Victoria had been using my office Wi-Fi for 4 years, and as the network administrator, I had access to all traffic logs. Every email, every file transfer, every website visit was automatically logged by my security system. Her email account contained folders labeled Revenue Enhancement and Client Optimization. Inside were templates for phantom vendor invoices, spreadsheets calculating profit margins on fake services, and correspondence with 3 other wedding planners about industry-standard markup practices. She was running a systematic fraud operation, using my venue as the base for inflating costs and billing for non-existent services. Worse, because all events occurred at Grandview Manor, any legal liability would fall on my insurance policies. 6 months ago, I discovered the most serious violation. Victoria had been selling exclusive venue access to multiple clients for the same dates, collecting deposits from couples before informing them that scheduling conflicts required moving their events to partner venues, which were actually lower-cost locations where she maintained higher profit margins. She was taking deposits for Grandview Manor weddings, then moving clients to cheaper venues while keeping the premium pricing. The couples thought they were getting a discount for the venue change. They had no idea they were paying Grandview Manor prices for basic hotel ballrooms. But last night was the final straw. The Regional Wedding Industry Awards ceremony took place at the Grand Metropolitan Hotel. Victoria had been nominated for Emerging Entrepreneur of the Year, an award recognizing business owners who'd built successful companies from the ground up. I sat in the audience wearing a black dress I'd bought specifically for her big night. Around me, 300 wedding industry professionals filled the ballroom. Photographers, caterers, florists, venue owners, dress designers, everyone who made the wedding industry function. When Victoria's name was announced as the winner, the applause was thunderous. She walked to the stage in a shimmering gold gown, her smile radiant under the spotlights. The presenter handed her a crystal trophy, and she stepped to the microphone. "Thank you so much for this incredible honor," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the sound system. "When I started my company 4 years ago, I had nothing but dreams and determination." I leaned forward, expecting her to acknowledge the support she received, the venue that had made her success possible. "Success in this industry requires creativity and independence," she continued, her voice growing stronger. "You can't rely on family handouts or borrowed venues. Real entrepreneurs build something from nothing through their own vision and hard work." My stomach dropped. Family handouts? I'm proud to say that every success I've achieved has come through my own efforts. No trust funds, no family connections, no advantages that weren't earned through dedication and talent. The audience applauded enthusiastically. I sat frozen, unable to process what I was hearing. Too many people in this industry rely on shortcuts, using family resources, borrowed equipment, inherited advantages. But lasting success only comes when you build something entirely your own. She paused, looking out over the crowd with practiced confidence. I want to encourage every young entrepreneur here tonight. Don't take the easy path. Don't depend on family handouts or borrowed venues. Build your own empire from the ground up. That's the only way to create something that truly belongs to you. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Victoria held her trophy high, beaming with pride and satisfaction. I stayed in my seat, my hands folded in my lap, while everyone around me celebrated my sister's triumph over family dependence and borrowed resources. When she returned to our table, several industry leaders stopped by to congratulate her. "Inspiring message," said Margaret Chen, who owns 6 venues across the state. "It's refreshing to see someone who's truly self-made." "Thank you," Victoria replied. "I believe in earning what you get." She didn't look at me once during these conversations. The drive home was silent. Victoria stared out the passenger window, still clutching her trophy. I kept my eyes on the road, my mind racing through 4 years of memories. Every weekend I'd worked, every bill I'd paid, every time I'd stayed up past midnight cleaning her messes. "Great speech," I finally said as we pulled into my driveway. "Thanks," she replied absently. "I think it really resonated with people." "Independence builds character," I added. She nodded, getting out of the car. "Exactly. People respect you more when they know you've done it all yourself." That night, I sat in my home office until 4 a.m., organizing 4 years of documentation into a comprehensive file. Bank records showing $394,000 in insurance payments, work logs documenting 1,200 hours of unpaid labor, security footage of vendor meetings where Victoria had lied about service costs, email records proving systematic client fraud. But most damaging of all, copies of her vendor contracts that violated state business licensing requirements, insurance fraud documentation that exposed her to federal charges, and evidence of tax evasion through unreported phantom vendor income. I've been building this case unconsciously for 2 years, driven by investigative instincts that detected fraud patterns even when I didn't want to see them. Now I had everything needed to expose the full scope of her operation. At 8 a.m., I called Victoria. "I need to see you at the venue. We have an emergency." "What kind of emergency?" she asked, her voice still thick with sleep. "Insurance issue. The carrier needs immediate documentation review." She arrived 30 minutes later, looking annoyed. "This better be important. I have 3 client meetings today." I led her to my office, where I'd arranged the documentation in neat stacks across my desk. "Have a seat." "What's all this?" she asked, noticing the papers but not yet understanding their significance. 4 years of business records," I said calmly. "I need to review some discrepancies with you." Her face remained relaxed as she settled into the chair. "What kind of discrepancies?" I picked up the first folder. "Let's start with Prestige Floral Design. According to your client invoices, you've paid them $47,000 over the past 18 months. Okay, Prestige Floral Design doesn't exist. The address on their invoices is a UPS store. The phone number goes to a disconnected voicemail." Victoria's expression shifted slightly, wariness creeping into her eyes. "That's impossible. I've worked with them dozens of times." "No, you created invoices in their name and billed clients for services that were either provided by other vendors at much lower costs or not provided at all." I opened the second folder. Elite Audio Solutions. $38,000 in billings for equipment that's permanently installed at Grandview Manor. You've been charging clients thousands of dollars for using my sound system. Those are legitimate service fees for equipment they're already paying to use through the venue rental. I continued through the stack. Phantom catering charges, inflated line and costs, non-existent security services, fake coordination fees. In total, she defrauded clients of nearly $200,000 over 2 years. "This is ridiculous," Victoria said, but her voice had lost its confident edge. "You're misunderstanding standard industry practices. I'm a certified event insurance investigator. I replied evenly. I investigate exactly these types of practices for a living. The color drained from her face. You've been running a systematic fraud operation from my venue, using my insurance policies as protection, while billing clients for services that don't exist. Victoria stood up abruptly. You're way out of line here. This is my business. Operating illegally from my property. You can't prove any of this. I picked up my tablet and tapped play. Her voice filled the office. He doesn't know I'm using his venue for the markup schemes. As long as I keep him thinking he's helping family, I can run whatever billing structure I want. It was from a phone call she'd made from my office 6 months ago, recorded by the security system she'd forgotten existed. Victoria's face went white. You've been recording me. My security system records all activity in my office. Standard procedure for any business handling valuable client information. I showed her the next file. Here's documentation of your tax evasion. You've reported $150,000 in phantom vendor payments as business expenses while pocketing the actual money. That's federal fraud. You can't. And here, I continued, opening another folder, are copies of your emails coordinating with other wedding planners to implement these same schemes at different venues. You're not just defrauding my clients, you're part of a regional network. Victoria sank back into the chair, her hands shaking. What do you want? I want you to understand what independence actually costs. I walked to my computer and pulled up her business insurance policy, the one I've been paying for 4 years. Effective immediately, your coverage is canceled. You have 48 hours to remove all business materials from Grandview Manor. You can't kick me out, we have an agreement. We have a verbal family arrangement that I'm terminating. You're now trespassing on private property. I handed her a formal eviction notice I prepared that morning. All scheduled events at Grandview Manor are canceled. Clients will be notified that their contracts were signed by someone without authority to use this venue. This will destroy me, she whispered. Your speech last night made it clear you don't need family support. Victoria's phone started buzzing immediately, the first canceled clients calling with questions. Then my phone rang. Grandview Manor, this is Julia. Hi, this is Margaret Chen from Platinum Venues. I just received some disturbing information about Victoria Harris and wanted to verify. I glanced at Victoria, who was staring at her phone in horror as more calls came in. I'd be happy to discuss venue availability for any affected clients, I told Margaret. Unfortunately, Ms. Harris was operating without proper authorization. By noon, the wedding industry network had spread the news. Victoria's fraud scheme was exposed across every major venue, vendor, and planner in the region. Her clients were scrambling to find alternative arrangements. Her vendor network was demanding payment for services they had actually provided, while she had been billing clients double. The criminal charges came within a week. My documentation was so comprehensive that the state attorney's office filed fraud charges within days. The IRS opened an investigation into her tax evasion. 3 other wedding planners in her network were arrested. But the professional consequences were immediate and permanent. The wedding industry operates on trust and referrals. When word spread that Victoria had been systematically defrauding clients, every venue in the state blacklisted her company. Her insurance was canceled. Her business license was revoked. 2 months later, I received a letter from her attorney requesting a settlement meeting. I declined. 3 months later, she declared bankruptcy. The phantom vendor scheme had generated nearly $300,000 in illegal profits, but legal fees and restitution orders consumed everything. She lost her apartment, her car, and her business. 6 months later, I opened my morning newspaper to find her mugshot on the business page. Local wedding planner sentenced to 2 years for fraud scheme. The article detailed how she had systematically defrauded dozens of clients while operating from a borrowed venue owned by her sister. That same morning, I received a call from the Regional Wedding Industry Association. Ms. Peterson, we'd like to discuss your venue hosting our annual awards ceremony next year. I'd be honored, I replied, looking out at Grandview Manor's perfectly maintained ballroom. We've heard excellent things about your integrity and professionalism. The industry needs more venue owners like you. Last week, Victoria called me from prison. I didn't answer, but she left a voicemail. Julia, I know you probably won't forgive me, but I need you to know I never meant for things to get this bad. I wanted to build something impressive, something that would make people respect me. I thought if I could just fake it until I made it, everything would work out. She paused and I could hear other voices in the background. I know what I said at the award ceremony was horrible, about family handouts and borrowed venues. I was trying so hard to seem independent that I convinced myself it was true. But you were never a handout. You were everything that made my success possible, and I threw it away because I was too proud to admit I needed help. Another pause. I don't expect anything from you. I just wanted you to know that losing you was worse than losing the business. The business was built on lies. But what we had was real. And I destroyed it because I couldn't handle being grateful. The message ended with the automated voice saying I could press 1 to save it or 7 to delete it. I pressed 7. These days, Grandview Manor hosts events for honest wedding planners who understand the value of collaboration over deception. My insurance investigation business has expanded nationally. My expertise in venue fraud detection is in high demand. The Victoria Harris case became a textbook example in insurance fraud courses. I still work weekends, but now I'm paid properly for my time. The venue's reputation has never been stronger. Couples book years in advance, drawn by the combination of stunning architecture and bulletproof integrity. Sometimes I think about Victoria's message, about her distinction between fake success and real relationships. She was right that what we had was real, but she was wrong about everything else. Real independence isn't about rejecting help. It's about earning the right to stand on your own. Real success isn't about convincing others you did it alone. It's about building something that can survive scrutiny. And real family isn't about taking advantage of love. It's about protecting it. Victoria learned that lesson 2 years too late, from a prison cell. I learned it just in time, standing in my ballroom, watching her awards ceremony speech, finally understanding that some people will always choose the lie over the truth, even when the truth is the only thing that could have saved them.